is Alexandria J, and you're listening to the Protecting Purpose podcast. Well, hello, everyone. It is your girl, Alexandria J, and I want to officially welcome you to the Protecting Purpose podcast. Listen, we here, okay? We are here, and I am super excited about this journey, this little venture that I am embarking on, that God has given me the go-ahead to put, the gas, what am I trying to say? All gas, no brakes is what I'm really getting at, But God has released me to go ahead and put this out, and I'm really, really excited, you guys. So I definitely want to welcome you and invite you to engage in this community of believers. And when I was going back and forth with God, because unfortunately sometimes God has to jerk us up a little bit to get us to do what he's said to do. So when I was going back and forth with God about this, I was telling him, I was like, God, I don't want to just do something just to do it, right? Like, if I'm going to do something, I want it to be meaningful. I want people to be impacted, and I want to build something that people are going to feel like they can be a part of, right? So he gave me this idea to build community and to really just allow the space for conversations to happen around the topics of life, around the topics of relationships, our faith, our families, ministry. And that's really what I had in mind was, how can I build a community for young adults like me who are extremely active in their church, who are God-fearing young women, who are God-fearing young men? How can I build that community? So this is for us, y'all. And I really want us to engage and dive in, because I truly believe that it is so difficult to navigate this road of ministry and navigate your calling and your purpose without proper community. So that's what I'm seeking to build here with Protecting Purpose. And I definitely hope that you all will engage and kick it with me a little bit. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to definitely get down to the real conversations, but we are going to have a lot of fun too. And I want to say this also, even if you're not super involved in your church right now or active in ministry, even if you're new to the Christianity thing, you're just starting your walk, this community is also for you, as we are going to have plenty of talks about purpose, about discovering purpose, about walking in purpose. So I want you to know that this community is also for you, and I'm super excited to really just learn and grow with you, as the whole purpose of this is to support each other, no matter what area of our life we're on, no matter where it is that we are in our walk with God. So I'm excited. I definitely wanted to start the podcast with, this is kind of like episode 0, where it's just getting to know me a little bit. I'll share a little bit of my testimony, how the podcast came about. And yeah, so of course you guys know my name is Alexandria J. I am 26 years old. I actually have a birthday coming up, so I'll be 27 very soon. I am originally from the beautiful, the gorgeous San Diego, California. Shout out to my Cali people if there's anybody listening. I know there is, because obviously I'm here, but shout out to Cali, 619, Dago, But that's where I'm from. I have a lot of family, though, on the East Coast, so I'm very familiar with East Coast life as well. A lot of family in the DC area, DMV in general. I have a lot of family over there. But I'm a Cali girl, and I love being from California. I am also a business owner. I have a business called Protecting Purpose, which was designed to help young ladies really discover and protect God's unique purpose for their life, as well as a public speaking business. So I also teach people to actively and skillfully engage their target audience on a day-to-day basis. I am also a worship leader, and that praise and worship, if anybody knows me, like for real, you know that praise and worship is my heart. And I guess you don't even really have to know me for real. You could look on my Instagram and see that, but praise and worship is my heart. It will always be a part of who I am. I have something that I say all the time because it's so true, and that is that worship truly saved my life. And I'll share that testament at another time because it's really a powerful one, but I am super passionate about leading God's people through worship and teaching identity even through the fundamentals of worship. It's something that I will dedicate and commit my life to. So I'm really passionate about worship leading. I am a pastor's kid also. My dad has been a pastor since before I was born. So I was born and bred into the PK life, and it's been a rewarding experience, I will say, for me. I won't go too in depth into it. My brother actually has a podcast called The New Normal. Shout out to my brother, Andrew. Go check out The New Normal, which you can also catch on Apple Podcasts. And we actually did a conversation where we talked all about the pastor's kid life. So check that out. But it's been a rewarding experience overall. So a little bit of my just upbringing. I grew up with a very independent, very mature. I had to mature at a really young age, and I always carried myself very well. I did really well in high school, grades wise and all of that. And then all of a sudden, insecurity hit me like a ton of bricks. And I wish I could tell you where exactly it came from and how exactly it stemmed. But to this day, I don't think I can actually pinpoint what it was that really started this battle with insecurity. But when I say it hit me hard, it hit me really hard. The only thing that I can really think of is that when I did get to high school, I was really known for my singing, right? So I sang a lot at school, but I felt like people didn't really know me beyond that. And so that's the only thing that I can really think of that might have sparked it. Other than that, I don't know how it happened. I don't know. And this is why I know it was a God thing for me to experience it. But it hit me really, really hard, and to the point to where it controlled my life. It controlled my decisions. It controlled my relationships with my family. It really just controlled everything, and it weighed so heavy on me. And right before I left for college, there was this huge transition that happened in my life and in just how I viewed people and how I viewed the world. My perspective on so many things changed because of a heartbreak and a disappointment. And I didn't have a bad breakup or anything, not at this time, but it was something where we were forced to leave a church that we had been a part of for so long. And it was definitely at that time, it was definitely really hard to accept. And I won't get into too much detail, but it was something, because I don't want this episode to be like super long, but it was something that was really hard to accept. My father had grown this church to astounding numbers. God had put us in a really great building in an excellent location. And unfortunately, things happened where the leadership of that particular ministry didn't really like the direction that my father was going in, because this church was extremely traditional. And so they actually asked him to leave. And so that was really hard. All of my friends were in church, right? Like most of them. I had my high school friends and I played sports, all of that was good. But a lot of the really foundational relationships that I had built were at church. So that was a really hard transition for me to really accept. And so it kind of spiraled out of control again, right? This insecurity, and now it's leading to depression. It's leading to rejection. Now I'm dealing with rejection issues. Now I'm dealing with, abandonment issues, so to speak, and all of this pain and hurt. It really changed my entire life. And I was even scared personally that I would fall away from God, because I didn't know who I was at that point, right? So I'm dealing with all of this insecurity. I'm dealing with all of this rejection, like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking we're doing great. I'm thinking we're in a good place. And then all of a sudden things go crazy. Okay, Like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be? It just became this whirlwind of emotions and things where I did not know where I was headed or what God was doing. And at this point, I thought I had a really strong relationship with God, but everything went haywire at that moment. So when I went to school, I left for school, and, depression and all of that really became a lot more prevalent in my life. I didn't know who I was. I'm struggling with identity, and now I'm struggling with anxiety and torment. And because I couldn't find happiness with myself, I began looking for it through other people's opinions of me. So I began searching for people to validate who God had already validated that I was. And it became this ongoing cycle, this toxic cycle of me trying to get people to prove me when God has already said, I've already qualified you. I've already justified you. That's a word for somebody. Stop trying to get people to prove who God has already said that you are. Stop trying to get people to validate who God has already said that you are. You don't need validation. You don't need them to prove you right. You don't need them to prove that you are who God says you are. If God said it, then that's what it is. But anyway, back to the story. That's what I was doing. And it was almost like I was living this counterfeit life, right? When I got to college, and what I mean by counterfeit life is I was singing, right? I was the captain of the step team. I was on chapel band. I was in gospel choir. I had a leadership scholarship. So I was on a merit scholarship to go to school. And although all things I loved and knew God had called me to in some way, it was truly rooted in my insecurity to be validated by other people, hence being a counterfeit. So it became a heart issue. I was doing so many things thinking this is what people want from me, thinking this is what people are expecting from me. And I was really trying my hardest to be who I thought they wanted me to be, to gain their approval. And can I tell you something? This led me nowhere. I got absolutely no results from trying to be somebody that I didn't even have the grace to be, that I didn't even know how to be, yet I just thought it would please people. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and therefore no results came of this. Let me tell you guys something. You will lose your mind trying to be everything for everyone without fully taking the time to develop your difference. I'm going to say that again. You will lose your mind trying to be everything for everyone else without fully taking the time to develop your difference. You're trying to fit into molds that weren't designed for you. You were not designed to seek the validation of man. You were designed to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and to allow all these other extra things to be added unto you. So, you know what I think about is the example of David and Saul, right? Saul gave David his armor to go and fight Goliath, but David ends up giving Saul his armor back, right? Because he knew who he was, and he was like, I can't wear this. I can't wear this. He knew who he was, and he trusted the God that was on the inside of him. So let me tell you, give them their armor back. These clothes that they're trying to fit you in, this dress that they're trying to put you in, this suit, fellas, they're trying to put you in. No, you can't put me in a box. I'm sorry, you cannot put me in a box. Give them their armor back and use what's in your hand. Go ahead and pick up your 5 smooth stones and your slingshot and do what you got to do, baby, okay? Go and kill it with what God gave you. Give them their stuff back. Don't take on what you think that they want you to have, or don't take on what they give you just because they gave it to you. No. We are going to use what's in our hand. Work the grace of your uniqueness and walk authentically in who God has called you to be. So for me, the shift in my life, God began speaking to me in very unusual ways. Very unusual ways. Of course, there was the regular, and I say regular stuff, but prophets would come into town, into church or whatever, and sometimes I would get called out in that way. He also spoke to me through dreams on rare occasion to get my attention. And mind you, at this time, I had officially allowed all of that bitterness, rejection, abandonment, frustration. I wasn't dealing with that, right? So all of this is still settling in me and it's not getting handled. So all of that really trickled over into my academics and everything. And it really became an overwhelming thing to where I couldn't take it anymore, y'all. And it really led me, this is why I say all of this controlled my life. I had to leave school. And so it was just a real big thing that I knew something had to change, right? So me leaving school, something had to change. But to my frustration, it seems like when I got back home, things got worse. And I started dabbling in absolutely everything because I'm a gifted and talented person. I'm like, okay, let me just try and do a whole lot, and was taking myself out trying to figure out what God wanted me to do. And so it became this mundane and very frustrating process. But fast forward to just a few years ago to this really, really intense thing that God began to do. And now he's speaking to me even in even weirder ways, right? He's like showing me things and I'm feeling things and I'm around people and I'm like, what is happening, God? What are you doing? And I really began to understand that it was an intense season of pruning. He was pruning my character. He was fixing my heart. He was really purifying my motives, my intention. He was repositioning my posture for worship because, like I said, in school, I had lost complete identity of who I was. Yes, I was doing all of these things and I was having a great time, but still deep down, I had no idea. I was not self-aware of who I was. So what I learned while God is repositioning me and while he was recalibrating me was that pressure births authenticity. It reveals the real you, good or bad. Pressure is going to birth who you really are. And so I noticed that as I began to heal and as God began to prune me, the enemy fought me harder. And he tried to really take my submission and my persuasion. But I had become convinced that God was going to do the things that he promised me. So there was no turning back at this point. There was no turning back. The enemy fought me hard emotionally, mentally, even through the company that I kept around me. We all experienced the heartbreak, the betrayal, and, family trauma, church trauma, all of that. But I had made up in my mind that I was going to protect my purpose, right? Because at that point, God was really dealing with me about me. And he was showing me that there are things that I had to take you through. There were experiences that you had to journey through that were not just for you. These experiences are going to help the lost. These experiences are going to help those people who have felt abandoned. These experiences are going to help those people who have felt rejected. Why? Because I took you through it so you would know what they're feeling. I took you through it so you could understand their pain and their frustration. I took you through it because they're going to need somebody honest enough to say, I've been where you are, but this is why I know God is a healer. This is why I know God's a deliverer. This is why I know God can make ways because he did it for me. And that it sounds like such a juvenile or elementary concept now, but then it was mind-blowing to me. It was mind-blowing to me. And so I really began to protect the purpose that God gave me. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my testimony because it coincides perfectly with what the purpose of this podcast is. Again, it's just to have real intentional conversations to help people like me who are in ministry, who maybe dealt with identity crisis or who maybe are dealing with identity crisis, or even if not, you just feel like, you know what, I need a partner in this thing because it gets crazy out here in these streets. Let me tell you, okay, it gets crazy. It can be very difficult to navigate, as I mentioned, without proper community. So for those people who almost lost their faith, for those people who almost strayed away, this is for us. And my prayer is for these conversations to help us to be encouraged to continually go after our purpose and protect it at all costs. So, fast forward to today, is everything perfect? No, absolutely not. But now that I know who I am, that's the first, and let me tell you, that's the first step to going after God's best for your life. really fully owning who you are, God's uniqueness, all your quirks, all your craziness, all of your, whatever you want to call it, your flaws and all, really owning all of that is the first step towards going after all that God has for you. So I really pray that you all will join me as we discuss the pressures of life, church, business, relationships, all while making the commitment to protect our purpose no matter what. That means the devil can't get in my way. That means distractions can't get in my way. That means that these toxic relationships that for whatever reason I keep running back to, they can't get in my way. Why? Because the anointing that's on me is bigger than me, and I have a purpose to protect. All right, that's all I have for y'all today. I just wanted to do as the old folks used to say, just get our feet wet. Just dip your toe in the water just a little bit and give my background and a little portion of my testimony to help us understand where this podcast is coming from. And as I've mentioned about 10,000 times now, I'm sure I am super excited about this journey, learning and growing with you all, no matter where you are on your walk with Christ. So let's buckle up and get ready. New episode drops every single Monday. So until then, until next week, we out. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Alexandria J and add me on Facebook. Until next time, don't forget you have a purpose to protect.